Oftentimes we're afraid to reveal what we're dealing with, what we're wrestling with, how we failed, because we feel like people are going to reject us. And I thought I'd be rejected. That was my greatest fear, to be rejected by my friends, to be rejected by my wife. But what I found is that there's freedom in confession and there's suffering in suppression. And once I was able to just say, here's where my life is, man, they rallied around me. Of course, there's some pain. Of course, it's not just all roses immediately. But some people are not concerned with fixing you. They just want to face you. They just want to see you and walk with you and help you heal. The awesome thing about my friends during my mental crisis was that they were just there. They didn't have all the right answers. They didn't know how to fix anything, but they were there. If I said, I want to read this book, I think it might help me, they'd read it with me. If I said, I just feel down, they wouldn't say, no, let's not feel down. Let's feel awesome. They would just say, well, let's go for a walk, and just walk with me. My friend Adam was very sympathetic, and he said, man, I'm just sad that you've had to battle all of this alone. I wish you would have let me know so I could walk with you through this. Having someone there with you, just to talk with you, just to be with you, just to process with you is the greatest thing ever. And I'm grateful that I have friends to do that. And if anybody has a friend going through mental illness, the best thing they could do is to just be there. It's sad that we're not leading in these discussions. You know, when you start researching anxiety or depression, it's generally, you know, kind of groups outside of Christian thought, and their solutions, though they're backed with science, are not always healthy because there's not an eternal hope and there's not a greater power telling a grander narrative that your anxiety or depression is used in. And so you're just left with this sense of hopelessness that you just have to now figure out a way to cope and manage it. In order to heal, you've got to have hope. And in order to have hope, you've got to put yourself in the position to hear from God consistently, because He is our hope. And so if you're running from God, you're not going to hear from Him. In Jeremiah 29:11, we know God says, I know the plans that I have for you, plans for a future and a hope. But He gave those plans to a group of people who were in pain. So that promise came along with pain. There's a reality that they had to face, that they were going to be in captivity for 70 years. It didn't mean God wasn't going to use that. It just meant that they had to hope in that promise that was coming. And if they were not spending time with God or God's people or focused on the reality of this divine, good and loving God, they would forget that there's a promise on the end of this pain. And so for us to make it through the pain, we've got to hold on to the promise. But in order to hold on to the promise, you've got to spend time with the promise keeper. I lost everything I had inside a couple years. Lost my faith, I lost my mind, I lost a lot of tears. I spoke up about these problems that I saw outside. People turned their back on me, you would've swore I died. Molested, abused, abandoned, arrested, accused, and stranded. I grew up with all this trauma, it's nothing, forget it happened. 2 years later it show up, life is starting to blow up. Faith is starting to crumble, these critics starting to mumble. Oh my God, I feel dead inside, feel like suicide. Gone too far to turn back, he said, boy, you telling lies. Was deep inside the trenches of the devil's lair. They say how you get up out, I just said a prayer.
Use all this pain, use all this hurt to grow me. If that's what it takes to know what I'm worth, restore me, yeah. Use all this pain, use all this hurt, grow me, yeah. If that's what it takes to know what I'm worth, restore me.